Hello, today's topic is: will digital simulations eventually replace physical wargaming?
Welcome to the debate. You know, when digital GPS first arrived, those massive, beautifully detailed roadmaps didn't just adapt, right? They practically vanished.
Yeah, they really did. Just gone.
Right, so today we are looking at the strategic divergence of 2025 and asking a similar question: is physical tabletop wargaming about to suffer the exact same fate at the hands of globally democratized digital simulations?
It's a huge question.
Exactly, and I'm taking the position that the sheer massive scale and really the youth-driven demographics of digital gaming guarantee it will eventually absorb the physical medium completely.
Right, and I'll be arguing that the physical tabletop is permanently insulated from replacement. Not because of scale, but because of its high-intensity collector base and, frankly, irreplaceable in-person social structures.
The inevitability here really comes down to scale. I mean, we are looking at a digital wargaming audience of 400 to 500 million players right now.
That's a massive number.
It's staggering. A high-end historical simulation like Hearts of Iron 4 alone has up to 12.2 million global owners. Contrast that with the physical tabletop world, which sits at a highly niche like 15 to 20 million core hobbyists.
Sure, but...
And just to finish that thought, what really cements my position is the massive greying trend. The data shows that 48% of physical wargamers are now age 61 and over. That represents an audience that is quite literally aging out of the market.
Well, you're focusing strictly on breadth there, but the physical hobby survives on depth. It possesses incredible socio-economic resilience, meaning because 60% of these physical players hold college degrees, they have the steady, disposable income required to weather economic downturns.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, downturns and like completely wipe out a casual gaming trend. Plus, 12% of them are hardcore collectors who own over 100 games. This isn't just a casual pastime. You uninstalled a save hard drive space. You know, it's a deeply entrenched lifestyle backed by serious material investment.
Hold on though. I'm slightly confused by those numbers because if 48% of the player base is literally aging out, like over 61 years old, how is the hobby actually surviving on that depth? Well, like, if you're listening to this and looking at a shelf of unpainted miniatures, you know exactly what that $150 to $500 barrier to entry feels like. Honestly, isn't physical wargaming just becoming the film photography of gaming?
Film photography?
Yeah, it's a gorgeous tactile medium, sure, but it's becoming an expensive boutique lifestyle choice for older purists, rather than an accessible tool for the masses.
I completely disagree that it's just becoming a boutique relic. You're assuming that massive financial barrier to entry is completely locking out the next generation. But you have to look at how the physical hobby is actively recruiting them.
Which is how exactly?
Well, in 2024, we actually saw a 7% higher entry rate of players aged 40 and under.
Really?
Yes, because they're coming in through lower cost, skirmish-level games. Instead of forcing a new player to buy and paint a massive army of 200 miniatures, they only need to paint 10. It completely shatters that $500 barrier.
Okay, I see.
Right. It gets kids playing in a weekend instead of a month.
Skirmish games might lower the financial barrier, sure, but they don't solve the hardware barrier. Gen Z and Gen Alpha's gravity is already overwhelmingly digital. We're seeing 58% prefer consoles and 54% prefer PC for historical gaming. Furthermore, the digital space is solving historical demographic imbalances much faster.
In what way?
Globally, the digital gender gap has narrowed to 46% female, because jumping into a virtual lobby is completely frictionless compared to walking into a local hobby shop. Future generations are going to default to the digital space exclusively.
Frictionless entry is great, but Have you considered the physical town square?
What do you mean?
Well, virtual Discord communities and streaming platforms are excellent for quick connections, but they fundamentally cannot replicate the social infrastructure of a physical convention. Look at Salute in the UK, drawing over 7,000 visitors.
Wow, 7,000.
Yeah, or Historicon in the US, with 2,600 attendees. These aren't just matchmaking lobbies, they are tactile, shared experiences that build profound community bonds. Bonds you simply cannot forge through a headset.
But wait, that UK convention model completely ignores geography. You're talking about a country with 78% of the US's store density packed into a fraction of the space.
That is true, yes.
Right, so look at the United States. Players are widely dispersed. They already have to rely heavily on digital tools for rule sets, community building, and finding opponents.
Sure, but...
They treat conventions as rare destination events because local physical play is unsustainable. The transition to a digital ecosystem is actively overriding those physical limitations right now.
Disperse, perhaps, but the very fact that they are willing to spend thousands of dollars to travel to those destination conventions really proves the point that high-intensity financial investment and those tactile community bonds are exactly what ensure physical tabletop survival against digital convenience.
I hear you, I do. But the staggering user numbers in a fundamentally digital youth point toward a purely virtual future. It's incredibly difficult to bet against a 500 million player ecosystem.
Right? It's massive. But I think where we do find agreement is that, at least for now, these playstyles serve distinctly different lifestyle functions. One offers massive, instant accessibility, and the other offers tangible depth and physical community.
Exactly. It's clear both mediums are deeply rooted in their respective mechanisms. For now, we will leave it to our listeners to reflect on whether this different paths will continue on parallel tracks indefinitely,
Right?
or if the digital map will eventually fold up the physical one for good.